All right, for this video, we're just going to explain your directions for page 101 and 102. So this is going to be one of those things where you can do it on paper, but I'm also going to ask that you submit it as a Google Doc to the assignment. So I'm going to read through the directions here, and then I'll post another video after you turn in your work where you should check your answers. All right, so on page 101, this is still about the nation builder in chief, President Washington. Activity A is the Union of States. When George Washington decided not to run for a third term as president, he gave a speech to the Union. In his farewell address, right, so he's leaving after his 2 terms, Washington was clearly worried that critics would convince people that America did not need its new government. He wanted Americans to value the Union. So your job is going to be to read each quote from Washington's speech and each paraphrase. And then you're going to match the letter of the quote with what he meant. So what Washington said, unity of government. So you can see that root word in here, unite, is a main pillar, right? So a building post that supports our country in the edifice of your real independence, the support of your tranquility at home, your peace abroad. So without a unity of government, without government working together, you're not going to have real independence. You're not going to have peace and tranquil life in the United States, and you're not going to have peace with other countries unless you are unified as a government. Letter B, it is of infinite. Think about infinity. Think about goes on and on. It is of infinite moment that you should properly estimate the immense value of your national union to your collective and individual happiness. So the valuable part is that we are united as a nation. Okay, and this will last for forever. The name of American, which belongs to you and your national capacity, your abilities, must always exalt the just, think about justice and fairness, pride and patriotism, more than any appellation derived from local discriminations. Okay. So your name American. So being American is more important than being from New York or more important than from East Syracuse. That's the important part. Your union, your United States, ought to be considered as a main prop of your liberty. It gives you your liberty. And that the love of the one ought to endear to you the preservation of the other. So if you love your liberty, you should love your union because your union gives you your liberty. To the efficacy, think about being efficient here as a root word, and permanency, being permanent, lasting. So being efficient and permanent of your union. A government for the whole is indispensable. So we need a big, strong United States government for everyone. We need it. We can't do without it. No alliance, however strict, between the parts can be an adequate substitute. So if we were just 13 states and we formed an alliance, even a strict alliance, it's not going to be as strong as a union, as the United States federal government. And then lastly, respect for the Constitution's authority, right? Authority is power. Compliance with its laws. So if you comply, you're doing what you're supposed to do. Acquiescence. So you're kind of like bowing down in its measures. You're doing the right thing. Our duties, those are jobs, enjoined by the fundamental maxims of true liberty. Okay. So to have your liberty, you need to respect the Constitution and obey the laws. Okay. So you are going to look through and match the quote with what Washington meant. So we'll do one together. You should always feel more pride because you're an American than because of the local area where you live. So I remember something about pride in the United States more than New York or local. Yep. So more than local is your national pride. So that looks like letter C I'm going to do here. Okay. And I'm going to mark it that I've used it. You can always skip if you need to. Okay, so you're going to fill this out here if you want, but also on the Google Docs, right? 1 through 6, you're just going to give me a letter. And then for part B, strengthen that nation. Each card gives an example of an action that represents one of these 3 pillars of a strong nation. So that was from our reading. Write the letter of each card on the pillar it supports. So for this, you're going to write stable finances, which letters go with that? Peaceful politics, which letters go with that? And self-defense, which goes with this. Okay. So I'm going to preview and then do one with you. After losing the election of 1800, President Adams moved home and spent his time writing. So he lost an election, and instead of like calling the military to kill the next president, he went home and started writing. That sounds very nice and peaceful. Letter B, President Jefferson sent the Navy to the coast of North Africa to fight pirates and make shipping safe for U.S. vessels. So we're going to defend our shipping. Letter C, as Secretary of Treasury, Alexander Hamilton led creation of a national bank. So we're going to have a United States bank to keep our money safe. When Jefferson won the election of 1800, his opponents, the people he went against, accepted his decision and stepped aside. Letter E, President Washington got Congress to impose a tax on liquor made in the United States so the government could pay off its war debt. So remember, stable finances, this is our money. Peaceful politics means we're changing power between one president and another without a fight. And self-defense is keeping us safe from others. All right. When the 1800 election was a tie, they followed the Constitution to see who would win. When violent protests broke out over President Washington's whiskey tax, he led the National Army to stop the rebellion. To cut government spending and reduce debt, President Jefferson made the military smaller during peacetime. Okay, so we're talking about saving money here. When the French Revolution began to affect America, Congress created the Navy Department and the Marine Corps. Keep us safe, defend us from the French, perhaps. J, when the financial panic happened in 1792, so we're talking money, Alexander Hamilton had the Department of Treasury take steps to help solve the problem. Letter K, in his last days as president, the worst thing Adams did was appoint a bunch of his favorite people to different positions. So if the worst thing he does is give people jobs that maybe don't deserve it, at least we're not violent, right? During the election of 1800, presidential candidates spread nasty rumors, but did not plot to physically harm each other. So they're trying to win, but not like kill each other. Letter M, after having some success against Barbary pirates, President Jefferson decided the Navy should be increased. Letter N, President Washington signed a law that created the U.S. Mint for making coins and established the dollar as a unit of money. Okay, so we're all going to have the same money. And President Washington recognized America's limits and kept the nation from getting involved when war broke out in Europe. Okay, so we're staying out of war to save money, okay, and to be smart. So you're going to fill these answers in on the Google Doc for the assignment decision, which is iCivics pages 101 to 102. And then you're going to check your answers.